Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Paige of Swords podcast. This is episode 46, and I'm here with Blake Bomberger, right?
That's right.
Perfect. And you are a coach with Team Loud Performance. Yep. So that's awesome that you've been a coach for a while now, huh?
Honestly, probably only about a year and a half with under Derek. So okay. The owner of Team Loud is Derek Natcher, and that's my coach. So he brought me on board. He had about a year and a half ago, I guess. And then before that, I just coached a little bit in college, leading into I have another job, but just here and there, just kind of like almost free, to be honest with you. Then I started charging like very small amounts, and then Derek was like, "Why don't you just come aboard Team Loud and we'll go from there." So yeah, it's been great. It's been awesome.
So you're doing both, right? Are you still doing both your full-time job and then coaching too? Yeah. Okay. Now, I'm glad that you kind of bring that up. So I'm going to bring it up real quick about having two jobs. So in bodybuilding, do you think that that's a really good idea for the young guys starting out, or something to keep in mind, to be like, if you can create a side hustle, do it, because the sport's expensive?
Absolutely. Yeah. Nowadays, so like when I got into bodybuilding, I was following the era of, like Jay Cutler and Ronnie and all those guys, to the 2000s and on up. And, they were able to get contract deals with magazine companies and things like that. The social media platform wasn't there. Mm-hmm. So nowadays, these young kids getting into it, they're like, "Oh, my goal is to go pro. I got to go pro. Got to get my pro card." I'm like, "That's great. That's an awesome goal to have." But once you get your pro card, not a lot changed. I mean, when you got your pro card, Paige, what happened?
Nothing. I mean, I'm still like, oh, I guess I'm a pro. I mean, I got the card, but cool.
All right, now I make a lot of money, right? And they're like, no. And you're like, oh, shit. So it's, anyway, to answer the question is always have a job, especially, you're in college, you're getting out, you're trying to find whatever. Don't ride on the fact that you're going to make money from bodybuilding, because the reality there, and I don't want to like kill anybody's hopes or dreams, but the reality to make money is it's pretty next to nothing, right? You're better off getting yourself on a social media platform and finding some way to make money off that and monetize whatever you're good at within fitness itself, whether that be coaching or basically modeling. I mean, that's basically what you see on Instagram nowadays. It doesn't really have to do. That's where like the bodybuilding, it's switched. It's like it's turning a new leaf, I guess, and going a different direction. And we see that now. And I think it has everything to do with social media, which pros and cons to both, I guess. But
absolutely. And I think that a lot of the new guys, they probably don't even know half of the bodybuilders that you were aspiring from that got the magazine, like a Kevin Larone and Jay Cutler. Like, I bet a lot of them are like, kind of like, because they're so consumed in Chris Bumstead and Regan Grimes. So it's like, no, you got to like look at like back. I mean, hell, like let's all look at Lee Priest. He's like a crazy shape. I mean, the guy is just like really old school, and he's done the bulk. He's done, the magazine shoots and photo shoots. And I mean, even if you want to like compare Arnold, who ended up getting into movies, like it's not like that now. You're not going to get like maybe Chris Bumstead could get in the movies if he wanted. I know Callum did, but
beautiful face.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, you have to you got to branch off and do something different, right? You have to find something that makes you stand out, mm-hmm. and go that direction. You can't just stay in your dungeon, Dorian Yates style. Mm-hmm. I guess that's either, but and just eat your meals and train and expect to make money off that. And like you said, you have to support the hobby. You have to understand that this is the most expensive hobby, sport, whatever you want to call it, that you're going to get into. And for a lot of people, it doesn't make sense. A lot of people in the outside world that don't understand bodybuilding, they're like, "Oh, how much money did you get from winning?" And you're like, "Nothing. I got this $10 plastic trophy." Or one of those swords, you get those giant swords.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
And you brought up social media. So then here's the other big thing that gets in the way is that everybody wants to win those plastic trophies to show off or get nationally qualified to show off because they want it for Instagram to show off with. But it's like something is getting lost in translation when it's like, that's not what this should be about. I know you've seen this like posted before. The all question is, if Instagram didn't exist, would you still be doing the sport?
Absolutely. That's great. I say that all the time to my wife, my close friends. Some of the guys I train with are older. I think this sport would almost be like half dead if it wasn't for social media, because I think it's like, what's your goal? Like, what are you doing this for? Are you doing this for yourself and because you truly love it and have a passion? Or like you said, if you strip Instagram away and take all those selfies you take every day in the gym and all that stuff, if you take it all away, would you still love it? And I don't think there's a lot of people left that love bodybuilding down to its core. I know for me, it had nothing to do with social media. I mean, for me, I guess I'm like an older guy now, but man, it was all about just the love of getting in the gym and pushing yourself to limits that other people can't push themselves to. And I know for me that was the love. I fell in love with doing crazy stuff in the gym, like squat until you puke or till your nose bled. I mean, that was awesome. That's what you did. So, and I grew up watching guys do that as well. I watched guys at the age of 14 benching, squatting 700-800 pounds. So for me, seeing some of the stuff I see nowadays on Instagram, it's not because I'm trying to be arrogant or rude, but it's kind of funny, You see young gyms and they're like, yeah, like, hitting 3 plates and stuff, and they're like videotaping, and they have like tripods set up, and I'm like, what in the world? Like, what are we doing right now? Are we lifting? Are we creating a movie? Or like,
yeah. And don't get me wrong, like I like to film my workouts too for form check or just sharing,
sure.
but I mean,
Absolutely.
because I like watching other people train, like it really helps, like just me mentally. But you're right, because it's never to the point where it distracts me from my workout, which you would hope that other people aren't, like, they don't let that happen. Because that's the worst part. Like, you're in the gym to train, and yes, it's nice to film, but don't let that move your focus, because training is what's gonna eventually lead to something further. The video, you could video anything. Plus, it's like, you're gonna work out tomorrow, video tomorrow.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and yeah, you made a good point there too. Like, there's not all negatives to social media. I don't want to sound like one of those old guys, like, oh man, social media, blah, blah, blah. The amount of information that we all have, and it's all valuable. It's right in the palm of our hands now. I mean, I remember back at 10, 15 years ago, I used to get on like these forums and stuff, and dude, they were so sketchy, and like, I mean, talking about all kinds of crazy stuff on there, and you didn't know what to follow. You just kind of, it's almost like you experimented, and a lot of people were like, where'd you learn all these things? How'd you learn that was wrong and this is right? And it's through trial and error. It's through doing things wrong, because I didn't have the luxury of having something like social media in the palm of my hand. But then again, all those pros is great with social media, having all those outlets and all this information. Then on the flip side of that, it's almost like information overload.
Yes.
Because now so much information, you're like, is that guy right? Or is this girl right? Or is he right? Like, and you don't know where to go. And it's like, that's why you could have a coach that kind of is like grounded and has their own way of doing things, and you try to link up to see if what your goal is or whatever, it links up with that coach's direction.
Yeah.
So,
and I know that Derek is very good. So like, you are set. And was Derek your first coach when you started competing? Okay.
Yeah.
You've had a few. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I started bodybuilding 18, 19. I'm 30 now. So I had like mentors along the way, and then I had a coach, a real like coach before Derek.
Okay.
And then Derek. Yeah, me and Derek have been working together for, it's gonna be like 5 years, I guess now. I mean, it's pretty.
Ever since I've known you, and let's say you guys have always been with Derek. I'm looking at the NPC website, and it looks like, was your first show in 2016?
No, my first show was in 2012, and well, that's because I didn't compete in NPC. I competed in IBF, OCB. and I did a no, not NABA. I don't know.
The
I did
W,
like
the one.
shows, yeah, something like
Yeah.
that. I did a bunch of shows,
Yeah.
like natural federations before that, and I was like, NPC looks more legit, and the competition was obviously better. So I'm like, it's time for me to graduate up and get. And I believe that was my first show, 2016. Was that Lehigh?
Yes. Yeah. It looks like you got third and fourth. So welterweight third.
Yeah.
How was your first experience? Do you remember how it was? Or, well, I should say, let's go to the Lehigh since I'm kind of looking at those pictures. What was it feeling like going into the NPC like that?
It wasn't really nerve-wracking because I competed, I think, 4 times before that. Like, I already got on stage. I did the whole thing. There wasn't much difference other than that's the first year I had a actual coach that, like, I trained with, and, like, he followed me week to week. Before that, I had, like, mentors in bodybuilding, and they were great. I mean, I learned a lot from them. But I think the drastic change was, like, the first time I competed in 2012, it was, like, old school, like, 14 weeks. We did like a 20-week diet, and like 14 weeks of that diet was literally chicken, brown rice, yam, protein powder, and oats, and like a banana. And that's what I ate for 14 weeks. And when I say chicken, we boiled the chicken.
Yeah.
I was in college, so I literally take like boiled chicken and put it in bags, and like literally at class just eat boiled chicken, no ketchup, no mustard, nothing on it. They were great. I learned so much from them. I don't want to talk bad, but like, it's kind of like really understand a lot of other into the meal prepping and macros and blah, blah, blah. So you talk about suffering. I mean, I would come home. I was just telling my wife this story last night. I'd come home from class or from the gym, and like my hormones were so out of whack because I was pushing it so hard, and the food was so bland. Like by like 4 weeks out, I was like, I'd have like meltdowns, like from the gym. I'd like be crying. Like, this is terrible. I pretty much locked myself in my room, in my apartment, and like people were like, "You okay?" Like, so that transition, I went that hardcore to a coach who prescribed a cheat meal once a week. And it was like these huge, like, variants. Like, I was like, wait a minute, what? You want me to do what? Oh yeah, I want you to just go out and eat whatever you want. I'm like, do that? So that ended up kind of working for me because we'd like suffer diet during the week, and then like this huge cheat meal, and there was nothing counted or anything. And then like I 3 to 4 pounds, and then I lose like a pound during the week as like I came back down. Not the way to do things either. Not to badmouth that coach or anything. It kind of worked. What worked for him did not work for me. So for all that. So that was the biggest changes there. And then honestly, I didn't really turn a leaf until I competed the following year, 2017. I did max muscle in Virginia, won my class. That's the best I've looked at that point. So I was a little cocky. And I was like, oh man, I just won my class. There was like 4 people in my class. Like, I was like, oh yeah, beat him. I'm like, I'm nationally qualified. All right. I'm like, NQ, with the NQ in the bio, like I didn't do that.
No, but I knew where we were going with that.
Well, people were like, dude, you can't make fun of people when they do that. I'm like, dude, I did that. Everything I make fun of people for, like, believe me, I was there. So anyway, I went from the Max Muscle show and I had a couple people tell me you should do Junior USA. So I was like, let's do it.
Okay. Yeah.
I went there, and what would you say? I had a piece of humble pie.
Yeah.
So, it was rough, man. Like, moral of the story, I was back there pumping up for this national show. I'm looking around people in my class, and let me put it this way. I wanted to put all my stuff back on and run out the exit door because I was like, I don't belong here at all. Like, it was embarrassing. I got last place in the class. Didn't even get to walk out for the trophies, man. It's like, I didn't even get like a participation trophy. They were like, sorry, man. See ya. And I was like, I need to reevaluate what I'm doing. And that's when I linked up with Derek. And I went from here to here in like less than a year. I mean, yeah, Derek we connected very well. I just got lucky and I connected with him like coach, competitor wise, and we just saw the same thing. And that's why I've never left him. And I just continue to get better and better and better and better. So
how did you meet him? Was it at the show?
I actually met him at a gym that I train at here in Columbia, Maryland, where I live. I train at the Coliseum. That's my main gym. Was been my main gym for like 7-8 years now. I met him once there with my old coach. And at the time, Derek was like in his prime, so to speak. And he was like, it was like 2017, 2018 when he was competing at nationals and or national level shows. And man, he was a monster. I was like, who is that guy? So I talked to him a little bit there and then a little bit of junior essays. And I called him, I think it was the next day. I lost because I had an 11-hour drive back from Charleston, South Carolina. I drove down by myself, competed with one of my buddies from the Coliseum. He didn't do so hot either. So,
it was a pity party the way back.
No, it was bad. Like my mind was just everywhere, man. I'm like, almost kind of like, am I going to keep competing or am I like take another route and just kind of have fun with lifting like I always have, you know? Like I was like, I need to decide, like, am I going to do this or not? And that's when I met a couple of competitors. The guy that won our class, Shane Post, very good. He's now a pro. His coach was Derek. So he said, we were talking back and forth backstage, and he said, I said, who's your coach? And he said, Derek. And I'm like, oh, I know Derek. Then another guy back there, I forget who else was back there. Drawing a blank, but he said, yeah, my coach is Derek as well. I was like, man, you guys look amazing. And I was like, all right, that's it. I'm hitting up Derek. So it was literally the next day. And we got on board. It was a week later, not even a week. I sent him my pictures when I got home.
Yeah.
And I ate like crap the whole way home. I stopped at like a Waffle House. I stopped all by myself, man. It was like, I was just eating my feelings away. I puked at a truck stop. Like, and I got donuts after it. It was bad. And I took my pictures for Derek and sent him over, and he goes, dude, what did you do? Like, yeah. He's like, all right, let's clean this up. So that's where it all started with Derek.
Hey, I know that you've been talking a lot about your mistakes, but like, that's the thing that I think, like the young kids and anybody that wants to get in the sport, like you kind of just were doing these things like blindly and learn. But when you share them, it's so interesting because I can't even imagine like the chicken and rice completely bland, because I've seen kids do that. They like don't know about seasonings. I'm like, at least
they're like,
seasoning.
No salt. And you're like, no, you actually want salt.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. There was like, not even, I can't even think about, let's say like 5 months ago, I was hanging out with this like young kid. I think he's like 20. And he like didn't know that he should be salting all of his meals. Like he just was just eating it plain like you probably, and like no salt. And I'm like, dude, you need some salt, like pink salt, like bodybuilders use salt.
Yep. We need it for muscle contractions, man. They're like, what's a muscle contraction? You're like, oh, man, there's a lot to learn.
But it's so exciting too. But you just want to like help these people because you're just like, wait till you get some salt.
Yeah, they're like, whoa, my pump was crazy. Like everyone, what pump product do you want? You know, it's like, I bet if we increase your water intake and get some salt every meal, you're probably gonna have a better pump than you do now. So,
yeah, who would have thought water and salt? Like, come on.
Yep.
So you started with Derek, and then it looks like when you did that first national show and started with Derek, so you took like 1 year off, I think it looks like. 2018 you took off, and then 2019 hit Pittsburgh.
Yes. Yep. And that was great. Like just the experience. So I'll just go over that quick. I went in the light heavyweights, very, very bottom of the class. I grew out of middleweight. And I think there was 11 or 12 guys in that class. It was the year Dougie, you know Doug. Yeah. He's a pro now. I mean, he just won his pro show. He's on the way to the Olympia, and I competed with him. It was pretty cool, man. I mean, that guy,
he's so
very
humble.
Very humble guy, very Yeah, he's just a great dude. And the guy that won our class, so first and second place in that class, I took third. The guys that beat me are both pros now. So Derek did a great job. Like, I went from this like embarrassing national show to like top 3 in that class out of like a good number of people. And I mean, I just looked so much better. I couldn't even, you look at pictures from 2017 to 2019, you're like, holy hell, like what did you do different? I'm like, oh, I'm at Derek.
Yeah.
So, you know, that coupled with a shit ton of hard work and a lot of stuff that he taught me.
Was a lot with diet, because I often see a lot of young kids. I'm going to probably keep referring to younger guys. Well, I know it's girls too, but younger guys, they don't realize how much they really need to eat. So I'm assuming Derek probably fed you good after he cleaned you up after your donut fest. But
Yeah.
So you guys probably had a better relationship with food that you were building at that point too.
You nailed it. I mean, food is he learned quickly. I knew how to train.
Yeah.
I've been training since I was 9, like competing in powerlifting since I was 9. So training aspect, things always clicked for me very well. Not that I've learned a lot even in the past year or two, or in the past years of training as well. And I continue to learn something new every day. You know, that's the name of the game. But like, he could see directly that this is a food issue. And the way he scheduled everything out and sent it over and planned it out, I was like, oh my gosh, this is insane. Like, this is great. It was like a roadmap to success. And I did realize just how important food was at that point. He pushed me with food pretty hard, and then realized, okay, this isn't the type of guy you push food that hard, because I get fat like quick. So I don't need much of a caloric surplus to grow. You hear people eating like 600-700 grams of carbs, and like, that's not me. Like, but you know, moral of the story, yeah, he really opened my eyes to nutrition, and really opened my eyes just how important it matters. The consistency. And it was the first time I had a coach too, and he's taught me this, and I excuse me, hope that I can reflect this on my clients, and I try to live up to Derek. But he's taught me just how important it is just being there as a coach week to week. I mean, you talk about someone who's pays attention to detail and really cares. It's insane. I mean, he's the kind of guy that like you don't want to let down.
Yeah.
You want to get right. And he's kind of taught me how to do that as a coach. And you see a lot of coaches out there nowadays, it's copy and paste diets. It's all about making a buck, especially the young kids, and they fall for it. They fall for the Instagram. They fall for the photos, all the shit that's out there. And it's really hard to see through the fake crap. And so I don't blame them. And I almost feel bad because I had so many great experiences through all the people I've, my whole life of bodybuilding and powerlifting. So don't pick the famous coach all the time. Absolutely. You know what I mean?
And sometimes you got cookie cutter stuff. Oof. Oh, I said, and there's like that cookie cutter stuff, like you were saying, like, and I've noticed too that, with the coach that you previously had, whenever you said like he was doing a lot of things for you that only worked for him. I've been there, and it's like, it does not really work that way. I'm sure, as a coach, it just does not work that way for everybody. Like, we're not like, I know my old coach, when I ran into that problem, I felt like he treated me like a robot. And I'm like, no, I'm not a robot. Like, when you tell me to go get a cheat meal, I'm going to eat everything. And I'm like you, I don't need a lot of food, but in my mind, I'm going to go, I need more direction. I need more attention to detail. I'm not a robot. So it sounds like you got the coach that communicates well, that pays attention to detail, and those stuff matter. Like bodybuilding, it's a lot of customization when it comes to your coach, and like that coach needs to work.
Yes, and they need to understand. I think you nailed it too. Like, a lot of coaches out there that aren't that great or that well versed or haven't been doing it for a long time, they pretty much use what worked for them. And that is, like you said, that's not good because what works for someone else is not going to work for you. And you need a coach that can pick apart these little details, the feedback that you're providing week to week, what you're seeing visually, what we're seeing through training. There's so many different factors to look at that you can mold that person into the right direction. And what I do for one person is completely different from what I do at another person. That's why everyone's like, dude, what if someone copy and paste your plans? Go ahead. I don't care. You can't take your plan and give it to someone else and have it work. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
So I don't care. You can copy and paste all you want, or steal programs or steal diets. You're going to be in a world of hurt because you're realizing that's like not even close to what that person needs. So,
right.
Yeah.
And I think it's getting harder now because I know with females, there's a lot of messed up hormones out there. And even that requires some really complex dieting when it comes down to if you've got PCOS or you got IBS stomach problems. And I know me, like I'm not a coach. It sounds like fun, but I'm just like, I don't want to be responsible for someone getting like a stomach, like, you know what I mean? Like, or making their problem worse. I don't want that responsibility.
And like you said, even I'm sure you see it all the time as well. I mean, you're very much into this industry now, and I think both of us can see all the crap that goes on. We could go on for hours probably, but females and hormonal factors and all these things, it's very complex. And I think coaches have a really hard time too. If you don't know something as a coach, then you don't know it. Yeah. And you need to say, hey, this is a little bit out of my wheelhouse, to be completely honest with you. I do know someone that can help you out, or at some point, I think some coaches need to say, you need to go to the doctor. Yeah. Right? You need to go to the freaking doctor. These coaches act like they're like doctors. And I'm like, you're not a doctor, man. It's just because you've been bodybuilding and living in your mom's basement for 20 years doesn't make you a registered dietitian or a doctor or any of that. So a lot of ego in this game, right? A lot of ego when it comes to coaching, when it comes to competing, all of that stuff. So you need to know what that person's best interest is, especially when it comes to health. And we see it all the time, man. I mean, we won't go down that road of supplementation, but that's a whole nother.
That's another thing too, where with the females with hormones, or if something's wrong or you need to go to the doctor, like again, we were talking about how you need to have that side job for money. If you don't have insurance, you are really not going to have everything that you need to keep your body on point to even compete. And I feel bad. Like I have a full-time job, which is great because I get my insurance, but some of these people run into the problem where they just can't afford blood work, and they can't, afford even their vitamins or supplements to like a liver detox or something, and it's just like, these are like, yes, you need the food and you need like, the training, the memberships, and then there's like the other health things. And I think people, they always look on the outside, but forget that the inside is going to cost a pretty penny too to keep up with.
Yeah. And we're staying on the path to like talk about younger kids, they want immediate results. I think we all want immediate results regardless of age, right? We want it now. We have to have it now, right? Instant gratification is the name of the game. That's America in a nutshell, right? And that applies to bodybuilding very much so. I want to get huge, and I want to get huge now. So what do? You spend the money on the things that you know are going to get huge, but you don't factor in or take into account the things that you need to stay healthy internally. And it's really easy to say when you're young to be like, oh, well, I don't care. I feel fine. Just because you feel fine doesn't mean you are fine. And a lot of, guys, you venture down that road of, hey, I can't afford, this health supplement that you're suggesting. And it's like $40 for a month supply. And you're like, really? You can't afford that, but you can afford such and such drug? You might want to evaluate the way you're doing things if you're going down that route. So again, we
the priority. That one. And it's just, I think it's also just being like clueless. I mean, they just don't know better because they see the pre-workouts and everything, and that's more glamorized and pretty. Yeah. But taking their vitamin D and C and just anything else that keeps things regular, or even like the probiotics. I mean, we were just talking about like IBS real quick, and I was just like, making sure your digestion is working, especially when you're bulking and you're eating all that food. Like, let's make sure that it's coming out too there, buddy.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we can go so many pathways we go down now.
I'm sorry. I can talk forever.
Good. It's good. Like good conversation. Like gut health is like another thing that people kind of gloss over.
Yeah.
I have IBS myself. Okay. So I've always struggled with that since I was a kid, to be honest with you. And it's gotten worse as I got older. I've gone to the doctor multiple times for the gastro and all that stuff. So actually people are like, how do you know all this stuff about gut health? And I'm like, because I went through it. I had to kind of figure it out on my own. And then Derek's helped a lot with that too. And then going to see medical and seek medical advice. Obviously you kind of know what's going on there too. But I mean, you said it best. If you're not absorbing nutrients and you're eating all this food, like where's it going? You know, you're wasting your money, you're wasting your time. So it's little things like that people, or younger kids especially, they just don't know about. Right. Yeah. I remember like 8 ounces of chicken a meal, and you know, my gut was in shambles. Like I wasn't digesting any of my food. And it's like, I wasted a lot of time, like spending a lot of money on food I didn't need. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Little things like that.
And it sounded like you were on a pretty regiment, like you were eating your plain chicken and rice or whatever else there too now, and you weren't giving yourself cheat meals, which is another thing. I think nowadays the kids are like, I'm going to go to Chipotle after the gym like every other day. And I'm just like, I mean, yeah, Chipotle's like your chicken and rice and avocado, like you think it's fine, but I'm like, it's just not the same, right? Like
100%. I mean,
I was like,
yeah, no, you're right. And what it comes down to, it comes down to, just as a coach and seeing it for a while now, it comes down to like just pure laziness, I think. Not preparing ahead of time. Like, and kids will be like, whoa, what do you want me to do? Bring my post-workout to the gym? And I'm like, yeah, 2 to 3 English muffins with like a whey iso shake and some peanut butter sounds a lot more scheduled and appropriate than eating Smoothie King and you know, Chipotle bowl or whatever. Or hey, you know, I eat McDonald's, but it's after my workout, so I'm digesting all those calories. Like, no, man, that's not how that works. Like, if anything, you're hindering digestion by doing that. You don't know the actual macros that are in there, right? Chipotle, that they don't actually weigh out your food or measure it, so it's different every time, right? And the name of this game is consistency. And I try to preach that to especially my competitors. This is a game of consistency, and whoever is the most consistent will be the most, you know, they'll be the best at this, right? Mm-hmm. You'll succeed pretty quickly if you realize real fast that, oh, I need to eat all my meals and I need to weigh everything out perfectly. And it's those robot type people, those OCD like people that usually do pretty well in bodybuilding. And that's why competing is probably not for everyone, because we're not all built like that. Honestly, in the name of like competing, there is no balance, right? You know, my lifestyle clients are my lifestyle clients for a reason. My competitors for a reason. And you really got to decipher one from the other, because there's a time to have a little bit of balance maybe with a competitor, but balance really isn't in that ballpark if you want to be the best. I mean, you can attest that, right?
Yeah, 100%. For sure. And you really have to put so much focus into it. And with the consistency part of it, it's like, I think in the last like couple weeks, I've told maybe a handful of people, listen, it's okay to train like a bodybuilder. It's okay to want to look like a bodybuilder, but does not mean that you have to step on stage because how much it costs. And honestly, we know that getting like stage shredded does not feel good. And if you're someone like, you know, that has IBS or a hormonal problem ahead of time, it's only going to stress it out and make it worse if you're not like prepared ahead of time.
Yep. Or if you don't know how to like come out of a show correctly. If you have, perfect example, if you have IBS and you get done with competing and you're like, all right, I'm going at it, like I did on my trip back from Charleston, South Carolina, and you start pounding Waffle House and what donuts, like I can tell you it's not a good outcome, right? And it's not even like we joke about it, but like you really think about it from a health standpoint, it is really bad internally from going from that such an extreme deficit into massive caloric surplus, all these added fats and sodium and the water retention that comes with all that. Your blood pressure spikes, blood glucose is through the roof. It's just your body's going nuts. So it is important. I'm not saying don't. People take that and they're like, oh, what, do I have to get back on a diet the night of my show? And I'm like, no, that's not what I mean. Have a free meal, have 2, 3, take the day off. Don't go crazy. Let's get back on a routine and let's give you like scheduled free meals that you can enjoy yourself, have some, higher density foods, but let's plug them in appropriately so that you don't blow up and things don't go south in a hurry.
Just
So
be an adult. You know what I mean? Like, let's not be the child like eating cake out of their hands. Like, be the adult, eat sensibly, use a fork and a knife. I don't, and then some people, I think in this industry too, that really irks me is how hyper-focused like food porn and cookies have become for competitors. Like, I just like, and I hate being mean because no one wants to be the person that's like, fuck your cookies. But I'm just literally like, stop. Like, the competing shouldn't be about like, I just can't wait to slam cookies and pizza after the show. I'm like,
nuts, actually. We're good to swear on this podcast, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh my gosh. The people, they're 5 and 6 weeks out and they're like preparing their pantry, like stocking it up with food. And I'm like, what in the world? Why are you doing that? And they're like, oh, this is what I'm going to eat after the show. And I'm like, how about winning? Like, who gives a shit about what you're eating after the show, man? Like, talk about priorities being in the wrong place. We kind of like looping back to what we started with. What are you doing all this for? Right. I think males, especially, and I don't want to like, I'm not trying to be sick.
Oh, go ahead.
Like, females do this more than males. It's almost like they're more obsessed with the suit they're wearing, the bikini bite they're putting on, whatever good. They're more obsessed with the, how would you say it? The glitz and the glam.
Of it all. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually are with competing itself. And I mean, you see the girls even backstage, even at national shows, you see them back there. They're like, they have like their stuff they're laying out on the floor. You know how long it takes to freaking get on stage, and you're laying back there, Yeah. And then they have the biggest thing they care about is like this box of cupcakes or whatever, this box of cookies that's their focus. And you're like, you're on a national stage right now, and all you give a shit about is your cookies. Next thing, like, I want to take your cookies and throw them out the door, dude. Like,
same. And then the girls bring them for everybody else, so that they're not the only ones eating cookies backstage. And I'm just really like, listen here, if my coach told me to eat fish and asparagus on show day, I would be doing that. Which actually, I got peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, which was awesome. But
there you go.
I'm saying, like, I like, we have good coaches that are gonna like tell us what to do that day anyways, but I am not about to just think about the cookies and pizza, first of all, because my stomach, I can't even fathom that sugar and dairy.
You know what? I still do eat that stuff. It's in moderate. Like, my wife bought what was it? What's Juan Morel's?
Oh, the cookie dealer, yeah.
Cookie dealer. And I'm not gonna lie, it was good, but I had another friend, she's a pro actually, and she's one of my massage therapists. She said, don't eat that. You're going to die. Cause she knows about my stomach issues. And I'm like, oh, really? And she's like, yeah, eat like a couple bites and be done with it. Well, sure. Shit. I ate like the whole cookie, and they're good, but oh my God, I felt like crap. And I'll tell you what, we took the rest of the cookies, we brought them back home, put them in the freezer. I was like, I don't want any more of that. I'd rather just get back on my diet. And for me, and I'm sure you're like this too. Once you compete for a long time, you really don't care about that. Like, when people are like, what are you going to eat after the show? Dude, I don't give a flying shit when I'm eating after the show. Mm-hmm. I'm going to win. And if I don't win, I'm going to be pissed. And I'm going to start structuring what I did wrong and what do I need to improve on before I worry about what cookies I'm going to eat, right? Because it's just food, man. It's literally just food. It comes with this stuff though over time. Like, I had my post-show like blow-ups where I gained 20 pounds in 3 days. Like, I did all that. I made those mistakes, and I'm like, I don't need to do that anymore. So, too old.
Yeah, and we're not trying to be like the Debbie Downers, like we had said. We're not trying to be like trying to scare anybody. But these are like the truths that often get overlooked because it's not the glamorous stuff. And like I said, no one wants to be mean and be like, fuck your cookies. But at the same time, like, we need to just like make that more normal, because I think social media again has made that a con where we hyper focus on those type of foods and treats. And like you said too, like nationals, like, do you know how expensive it is to do nationals? And you are just thinking about that post show cookie, whether you win your card or not. It's
Yeah. And you know what else? I think it comes down to when you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, fortunately, you've turned pro, and now what it takes. Like you're a small fish in a big pond, right? And I think when you start out and you're competing at your local shows around you and you're doing a pretty well, it's easy to become like a big fish in a little pond, and you let your ego get carried away and you think you're good enough to go to like a national show like that. And, you're not ready, right? Like you're wasting all that time and all that. I'm kind of going off on a different path here, but like, I wish younger kids would take the time and be patient and realize that, hey, to get to nationals, like the national, like Miami, or even a North American or a USA's or even a junior USA or junior national, it takes time. And it's almost like disrespectful to those that have been grinding it out for years and years and know actually what it takes to get there. Like, and you have some 18-year-old kid like going to nationals this year, and you're like, he's like 170 pounds soaking wet, and you're like, oh man, like there's so much to learn, dude. And you almost have to let that person go and fail.
Yep.
Like I did with junior USA's. You have to let them go there and get last place, and then you're going to find out real quick how much you love it and you actually want to keep going with it, right? Or you'll get the person that's like, oh, it was the judges.
Oh, well, yeah.
You're like,
politics.
no, dude, you suck.
So after you did the junior national show, it was like you took time. Well, you started with Derek, you took some time and everything. And then let's see here, you competed at the Big Cat last year. So you really haven't, like, you still haven't done a national show after that last one. Like you were like, and that was several years ago now. So what's your mindset behind that? And like, if you have any future plans you want to kind of share, go ahead.
Yeah. My plan now, I had to get hernia surgery done. So if I look like crap, that's probably why. You have to take an extended period of time off the gym. And I won't even go down that. It's been very difficult mentally for me. It's just another challenge that I can help others with in my shoes, clients or whatever down the road. I know what it feels like now to have an extended period of time off the gym. And it's really, you find out real quick how much you love something until it's like gone. And I don't want to sound like over dramatic. People are like, dude, shut up. It's a couple weeks. Like, it's like 6 weeks of recovery and you really can't lift. So with that said, I did the Big Cat and did fairly well. I mean, my goal going into that show was like, honestly, to win the overall. It ended up being, I mean, you were there.
Big show.
It was in a really good show, actually. So I wasn't like super pissed. I got second in my class. The kid that beat me also won the overall in classic, I believe. So that was like, well, I don't really understand that, but I was like, whatever. I'm not one of those guys that analyzes little whatever. Like they thought he was better than me that day. Cool, no big deal. Take your loss and move on. So I know I got to get bigger. I need probably another 12 to 13 pounds to fill out my class. So when it comes down to is me just getting bigger. So basically, I got this hernia fixed as soon as possible. And now I'm just kind of like in this limbo phase where I already set my sights on another show. And that show being perfect example, I think is what you're alluding to. I already chose Pittsburgh, especially they changed the venue so the lighting won't suck. Thank you, Jim Mannion and everybody at NPC. Yeah, the lighting was terrible for years, man. So they changed the venue. It's like the lighting's good. I'm like, oh, cool. So we're going to do probably Pitt in 2023. So yeah, over a year away. That's going to
be my show. I hope too. So
awesome. Yeah. Sweet. That'll be good for you. That gives you a full year as well.
Yeah, and I'm like you said, I'm really wanting to see how the lighting is this year because that
Yeah.
will help me figure out like what color suit. You know what I
Yep.
mean? 'Cause, like
Yep.
that's a big thing. Like you're right, Pittsburgh sucked with that yellow floor. It just washed everybody's tan out. And like for us girls, like the suit matters. So it's like you don't want
Yeah.
a suit that's just gonna like
You guys spend like $1 billion on it or whatever, right? Our posing trunks are like $bucks.
to a grand. It's like insane. And you guys pay like 50, 70, I don't know.
What sucks too is like it's home of the NPC basically. It's one of the best shows there, like in the country. Really, like when you're looking at like a regional or local show, that's a big one, man. And that's why I like to do it too. I don't like to do these like, no offense to any other show or show promoters or anything like that, but obviously there's like tiers to this, right? Like you have your really small shows and then you have your bigger shows, and I'd rather compete in a bigger show at this point, knowing that I have what it takes to go to the national level again. And that's, I refuse to go to the national level again until I get close to like winning the overall. Or now I've had a couple people tell me like, hey, you got second in a really good class. I think there was 11 in that class as well at Big Cat. And the guys were good, man. I mean, it was a good show. I think it's time for me to probably move to a junior USA or a junior national at this point. So the goal is Pitt in 2023, and then I'll probably look to do junior USAs, which is like a couple weeks after that. So I'll venture back to junior USAs to try to redeem myself.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think, yeah. And it's good that you're taking pretty much a year off too, like I am, where it's like, you just have to be patient. Like you were trying to give that advice earlier, like you're going to have to eat the food and build muscle, but then after eating that food, you have to like lose it again. Which is also why it's important to make sure that that food that you're eating isn't a bunch of crap.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. Set yourself up for success, like it really does just take time. This is the worst I've felt because of taking time off the gym. Well, and Derek's like, check in. And he's like, you're gonna bounce right back or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't feel good. Like, I feel like a deflated mess right now. But yeah, I mean, like the goal is like, for me anyway, was always to absolutely demolish the last look. So if you're taking only 4 to 6 months off to bulk up, or it's not enough time. And unless you're a genetic freak, some people can do it. Like, I don't have that luxury. I need like at least a year to put like maybe 3 to 5 pounds of muscle on, maybe if I'm lucky. And I'm accepting the fact that I'm not genetically gifted. I know what my work ethic brings, and I know I can do that. I can gain that muscle. It's just going to take time. So again, that comes with maturity too, like actually realizing you got to be realistic about your goals. You can't just do a show after show after show after. You're never going to change. And that's a big thing we see now with these younger guys and girls. And I think, again, it comes down to where's your priority, right? If you took away competing, you weren't allowed to ever touch the stage ever again. How much of your lifestyle would you change?
I mean, maybe more cheat meals, but definitely like I would still be training hard and like trying, but it's the knowledge that I know now too. I know how powerful food is. So, I mean, no, cause like that would save me a ton of money, not being on stage, honestly. So I like, that's probably what I'm thinking about too, is like, how much money would I have without the stage part of things?
We'd be rich. Could you imagine if we didn't bodybuild? Yeah. Man, I'm working jobs right now. I'm still broke.
I know. I think about all the things I could have by now. I could think about, just having the car paid off or all those other little things. But I'm like, damn, I'm like paying a lot to look good though.
But you know what I mean? Like, if you took that all away, nothing would change. And you can ask my wife that. I mean, my wife thinks I'm a lunatic. I mean, I carry my Tupperware around everywhere, and luckily she does the same thing, and she's a perfect example. Actually, she doesn't compete anymore. You guys actually competed with each other. What was that, Lehigh
2019, I think, when we were both there. And I guess you were there too, competing then.
Well, I did the pit right before it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you were at that one.
We prepped together for 24 weeks. It was a wild experience. It was fun. I mean, but moral of the story there is like, she literally does the same things. She still trains her ass off. She loves to train.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think we just both respect that from one another. She knows, I plan on pushing this thing until I'm about 35 or maybe sooner. I mean, she wants kids. It's like, how long am I going to push this? We'll see. But I know one damn thing. You take the stage away, you take competing away, and I'm going to be doing the same thing. Because it's
for a while, this ends up just being a lifestyle. Like, I
yeah.
can't imagine just going back to just eating pasta on a Thursday night because it's pasta night. Like, I don't think that I can like really rewire my brain. Honestly,
Yeah.
I have been using a scale for years. So even in my mind, I'm like, how am I going to like detach from a scale?
Yeah. No, it's hard though. I mean, it really, and I'm finding out now with this hernia surgery, the recovery aspect of it. I mean, I'm still weighing my meals. I'm still eating my 6 meals, my meals 6 times a day. Nothing changes for me really, other than I can't grab a barbell, and it does matter. It is that big for me. This is a whole nother, we're going down a whole nother path, but like for me, lifting is so much more. It has nothing to do with identity for me. I mean, yeah, it's nice to look good. Don't get me wrong. I like looking good and getting bigger. Who doesn't, like, so for me though, it's much more of a therapy than it is. And that's how I got into lifting pretty much, and how I excelled in it when I was 9-10 years old, because dad got me into it. It was during a time my parents were getting divorced. I was really young. I was pissed, angry, and football 3 months out of the year wasn't enough. I can only hit people for 3 months out of the year. So what did I do the other 9 months, And that's where powerlifting, I realized real quick, oh man, I can take all my anger out on lifting. And I learned it real quick. I could kind of go to that dark place that I shouldn't really be exposing any other time. And just putting it towards something positive, and ripping weights and was the best thing. It was like anger management. Like I had anger problems when I was a kid. Like it fixed it. I mean, I don't know if it actually fixed it, but it was a good coping mechanism, and it allowed me to kind of do my thing like at powerlifting meets. And it's why I excelled. I think it's why I excel in bodybuilding as well, because for me, it's all mental. Like, again, my genetics really do suck. Like, I know people are like, no, they don't. Like, yes, they do. They're not good. The only reason I'm half-assed at this sport is because I can go there mentally with training, with prep, I like being uncomfortable. I enjoy that. And people are always like, man, what the fuck's wrong with you? And I'm like, a lot. But I think every bodybuilder has that little spot in their head that you're a little messed up, right? Like that's why only like 1% or less of the population can do this and sustain it. So, coming full circle here, it's just, I realized real quick that, lifting is so much more than just Instagram and getting on stage and all that crap, man. I don't care about any of that stuff, man. I just want to get in there and torture myself and push myself as hard as I possibly can. Because for me, it's like when I wake up every day, it's like, how can I get better? What can I do today to get better? And that's been my life. And my dad probably drilled that into my head from when I was little. I don't know how else to live my life. And I don't want to be average, and I don't want to be normal. I don't want to be any of that shit. I want to be my own person. I want to push the limits. And bodybuilding is the way I can do it. So.
Right. And hey, if you're the best that day and judges see it, who doesn't like to get a little reward for all that suffering?
Absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I like competing too, right? Like, I hate when people say that too, like, well, it's not about getting first place. It's about if I beat the best me. And I'm like, not me, man. I want to win. I want to, when I'm on stage, I'm like, I want to beat you and you, and I'm competitive. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's kind of a lost art nowadays too. Like, people are like less competitive, or I don't know if they don't want to hurt people's feelings or what, but like, screw that, man. I'm there to win. And when I'm doing cardio and I'm lifting, I'm thinking about winning the whole time.
And
So
coach too, this is going to affect your business now because you're like, I need to be what I preach, and I need to,
yes.
I want my clients to see that I'm doing what they're doing too.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it almost is like a business investment in a way.
I guess so. And that's kind of how this led in to like what I'm doing now with coaching. And hopefully I should be able to leave my other job here soon. Hopefully very soon. Coaching and lifting, all this stuff is like something I'm super, super passionate about. And it's not even hard for me because, how people say that stupid saying of like, work a day in your life, it's never work if you find something you love and all that shit. It really is true though. I mean, like I look at the job I have now that I am not really a fan of, and I hate going to work.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks. And I don't think anyone should live their life like that. If you have a passion or a dream or anything, go chase it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Don't settle for people's comments or settle for a job that you're just going to be unhappy at the rest of your life. Like life is too freaking short, man. You like go after it and go get it. And you're going to have people along the way tell you you're doing the wrong thing, or you're crazy for quitting your job. You have so much security there, your retirement. And I'm like, yeah, and I'll be miserable the rest of my life. Like that's stupid. Like how about pursuing something you love? Like people are scared to get out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
Get out of your comfort zone and chase it. Right?
Yes. I mean, people get uncomfortable with change. It's a risk. And I'm like, but it's good. It could be worth it, and it could change your life forever. And like you said, like, I mean, we're young, life is very long. And I mean, I think even in bodybuilding, you realize that too, that, there's no time to waste. Every little day counts to something. And why waste that if you don't enjoy what you're doing?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
So are you taking on clients?
I am
Okay,
taking on clients.
great. So
Yeah.
we'll let all the listeners know that if they wanted to hire you as a coach, you do prep and lifestyle, obviously. So that's great. And then you're working with Derek. And like I said, like I know that Derek is a great coach. I know that even he's experienced with a lot of, I have a friend that works with him that has IBS. So I knew right away, you did too. Then I'm like, okay, he is well aware of, how to help someone with that.
Absolutely.
And if they want to contact you, is Instagram your go-to?
Yeah, Instagram. That's pretty much where I do everything. I don't do like anything on Facebook. Actually, I don't even go on there. so comment on Facebook. Sorry, I don't even go on there.
I look for memes and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. So Blake at teamloud.com.
Okay.
That's my channel. If you go on my Instagram, it's just Blake Bomberger at Blake Bomberger. Go on there, and my stuff's in my bio if you want to look in there. So hit me up. You can DM me, or email is probably a little bit more preferable. Yeah, currently taking on clients. So if it's something you're interested in, again, don't have to be a competitor. I have actually a lot more lifestyle clients than I do competitors at the moment. Mm-hmm. I am definitely for like some serious competitors. I have a couple right now, but I'm taking on both, and I'm happy to work with both, but definitely want more serious competitors along the way. So if you're young and eager and wanting to learn and willing to learn, then yeah, absolutely hit me up.
Yes. And I know that with you being in like an off season for a year, I'm sure it's like, you're just hungry to help people. It's like your focus is there, and what better way than to have like even more time to give those people attention. So right now is a great time. And plus we just started a new year. Shows are coming up. So come on, guys. Like if you want a good coach, I would recommend Blake myself too. So
I appreciate that very much.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I know we were like all over the place, but that's just kind of, I keep it pretty casual. I can talk. I know, this sport is so much fun and can branch off forever and ever. But if anybody is listening, I'm sure there was something, at least I feel like there was more than one thing that someone could take away from it. So thanks for taking the time for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sorry. And that's probably my doing. I kind of go all over the place because I talk too much.
I just let it go, believe me. But yeah, thank you for coming on. And also for everyone too, I do want to point out that your off-season video that we had like talked about that you posted on your Instagram was very good. So if anybody is in their off-season like us here, go check out your video on your Instagram about kind of just some off-season topics. You should do more of those, definitely.
I know. And you know what? I try to, I get like a ton of DMs, man. Every time I post something like that, I mean, it's like 15, 20 messages or more. And I'm like, holy moly. Like, and people are like, dude, please do more, please do more. And hopefully once I'm done and away from my other job, which will be soon, I have some other business endeavors that I'm looking into, but, I'll be able to take my coaching more so 100% full time. And that way I have that extra time to get in the gym, make training videos and make small little clips like that. You know, I love that, the fact that it helps that many people. So that's what I'm after this for, man. It's nothing to do with me, posting I'm too ugly to post selfies anyway. So I'm just put helpful educational shit out there. Right.
No, I agree. And I like it. I watch it, and like, I'm trying to do the same, even though I'm not a coach. And
Yeah,
obviously you're a coach, so you're more creditable. So do more.
You have a lot to offer as well. We should both just keep doing what we do. Right.
Hey, yeah. And then maybe we'll do an Instagram live someday or something too, if we ever got more topics to discuss. So yeah, once again, I'll let you get going. I've already taken over an hour of your time. So
Sorry.
and tell the wife I said hello, and
Absolutely.
check in with you guys later. So all right.
Awesome.
See you.
I'll see you.